he's one of the more daring entrepreneurs in Las Vegas, and he's as sharp as it gets, and I think he's got a big winner here.
Put your money where your mouth is, and he does it.
You're not kidding. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to our Joe's Angle of the Day. Taylor Soster from Inbetsments coming up next.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
Hello, friends. This is Thomas Johnson from Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. Need a great idea for lunch or dinner? Your best bet is Joe's, one of the most popular dining destinations on the Strip. Joe's provides the ideal setting for private parties with accommodations for up to 150 guests. Stop by to see us at the Forum Shops at Caesars and ask for Thomas Johnson, your maitre d'.
And the reservation number at Joe's is 702-792-9222. And you hear me extol the virtues of Joe's every day. There's no place better as far as I'm concerned. I was talking with somebody last night. They said, get some friends coming to town. They need a good steakhouse. Check out Joe's.
Steak, seafood.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever
Prime Steaks. Been voted the best steakhouse in town. 702-792-9222. What's our Joe's Angle of the Day, Ralph?
Circa and Arrieta. The Atlanta Braves are 113-1 over-under as a favorite.
One over
13 unders and one push as a favorite. Philadelphia, 7 overs, 14 unders as a home dog. So it's Atlanta, Philadelphia, under 9.5, Circa and Arrieta.
You know, I am fascinated by models. I think it's
the two-legged ones or the computer ones?
The two-legged ones, certainly. But from a financial standpoint, a betting standpoint, the ones you'll get via computer, they are the rage now. And some are better than others, but I think the concept is brilliant in terms of isolating value. Taylor Soster is part of the team at Inbetsments. That's INBETSMENTS. You can follow them at Inbetsments on Twitter. And Taylor joining us right now. What's going on, guy? How are you?
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being on the show today.
Well, I'm excited to have you because it's a subject that I find fascinating. It's involving numbers, which to me is just the huge part of making your own numbers. And the modeling is, in a sense, doing it for you, especially for people who don't have time to do it themselves. But talk about how you got involved in it, and I guess the concept at Inbetsments that might be a little bit different from others.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think the craze with modeling and sports betting is kind of taken off, and there's definitely some good ones out there. And I think, you know, with the proliferation of advanced metrics, everyone has access to the data now. So the big trick and what we're trying to do over at Inbetsments is really separating the signal from the noise, and really trying to figure out what stats that truly matter and how we can incorporate that into, you know, what most people in their modeling would call their secret sauce and where they find value. And so, you know, what's different about Inbetsments and what we try to do is we really try to track everything that we do against the actual public markets, right? So you look at the Dow Jones or the S&P 500, and so the primary goal that we try to do is diversify our risk in much the same way as you do a mutual fund or maybe an index fund, and then achieving greater return on investment over time. So kind of trying to exploit the small edges over a vast number of events. And so we use the law of large numbers basically to mitigate the risk. And so it really has been something that we've been successful at for several seasons, and even in the MLB season and getting prepped for the NFL season as well.
And I like the approach because it's not one of these big hype, we're going to get you rich quick, we're going to hit 75%. There's none of that nonsense. It's a grind. Sports betting is a grind, and this is a good tool to make it a positive grind, but you do have to be willing to grind.
It is 100% a grind, every sport that we do. And, you know, the biggest approach we take is really, if you want to get involved in this, we're not seeking exhilaration, right? So we're seeking steady investment growth, really that outpaces the growth rate of the public market. So our measure of success isn't a single day or a single event. It's really months, quarters, years, and primarily what people care about is a sports season. So that's kind of what our biggest takeaway is, you know, we do small wins, and small wins are okay because small wins compound over time, and overall that's going to be pretty massive. So it really is that long-term approach, and much like someone puts their money in a 401k at their job, they don't care about it, they don't see it, it grows over time, and eventually at the end, you want to see a positive return on that investment. So that's kind of our approach and what we take away from it.
Taylor, explain to me and some of the listeners, a modeling situation like you use. Are you playing an MLB game, let's say 1,000 times, 10,000 times, and looking at the variance at those type of results to get your final results?
Sure. So we do a little bit of both, right? So there is some level of normal capping, but then we really try to get into some of the automation and actually using simulations or other entities that we throw into the model that actually eventually just spit out a value. And what that value tells us is whether or not it's technically a play or where we see where that going. So it's not all automation, because you do have to have some savvy insight into what we do. And if we talk a little bit about the NFL, I can go into that a little bit. But it really is a combination of both, because we are testing every thing we do with regression analytics, running through simulations, running through automation, and at the same time, we're also taking a hard look to see if it makes sense with where the lines are, because maybe so-and-so's out, and whether or not that really makes sense as well. So you do have to do a little bit of both.
One thing that I found fascinating with your model, and look, it's done pretty well, but what I found most interesting is that when you're way off the number and it indicates what might be huge value on one side, that's often an outlier and maybe is not as strong as the steady little edges that can be found. Is that an accurate assessment?
It is, very much so. Again, those outliers, when it spits out huge values, could be because of something happening in a particular game, and that really kind of swings us one way or the other. But the benefit of having model is the ability to create data on a day-to-day basis. And we use that data, and when we save the results, we're able to start to pick our spots, because that's when the model starts to tell us, like, hey, check out when you have an away favorite between, minus 100, minus 150, and a value of over 0.5. You're hitting at 64%. So all of a sudden, that becomes almost a signal for us to go dig deep into each day, and if any of those particular games are falling into those certain buckets. So our ability with modeling to data mine gives us a greater edge, per se, in finding those particular spots where we think a game might be more successful than maybe something that looks a little odd or an outlier that says, oh, wait, that's not going to work.
My thought is that with the proliferation of the contests around town here, for people who are going to enter the NFL contest, picking 5 sides a week in the Super contest at the Westgate or in the new contest at Circa, this is where modeling can really come in handy in terms of grabbing that edge and maybe avoiding the disastrous week that can leave you out of it. And having something like this at your disposal, I think for contest players, is going to be a real plus.
I totally agree. And one thing, especially with our NFL model, which we're pretty excited about, is we really look to find an edge that takes us across those key numbers, right? So a 1-point edge on a game with a line of 8.5 is really not anywhere as valuable as a 1-point edge in a game with a 2.5 line that may take us across that threshold of 3, or 3.5 that takes us below 3. So once we have that, and once these models are able to give us and point us to those edges, we're able to start to break down the matchups, the schemes, the schedules, and determine if the old-fashioned scouting and capping supports those numbers, and use that hybrid system that I talked about to really determine, especially in these spread bets and in these contests, whether or not it's a valuable play, and whether or not that edge is something that we want to actually go and exploit.
Taylor Soster's with us. You can follow him at Inbetsments, INBETSMENTS, on Twitter. Lots of good information there, and you can find out more about joining their team. But in the meantime, let's let you tell everybody how they can get involved, because football's here. I mean, we have the rest of the baseball season, to be sure, but the NFL preseason begins next week. And that's the start of football season, and that's when the volume starts.
Yes, big time. So for us, to get involved and to learn more about what we're doing over here, if you have any interest in kind of joining that platform, we'll definitely give us a follow at Inbetsments on Twitter. We're definitely going to be pushing out a lot of great information for the upcoming NFL season. and definitely throwing out some packages for people to get involved with to get their NFL season in line. So please definitely do that. And the one thing that we're really looking at right now that we'll probably be pushing out is these futures, right? So as the preseason gets going and before the NFL season gets locked in, is actually these team totals winning is what we're kind of eyeing and plugging into some regression models and other things that we're doing. And two that we actually really like for the listeners out there is the Oakland Raiders under their team total of 7 and the Buffalo Bills under their team total of 7. So we see really strong value in that. So if you definitely want to jump on something to follow long term for the NFL season, that's definitely two that we'll definitely be looking at.
That's good stuff right there. Raiders under 7, Bills under 7. We don't care about the Raiders being under 7 this year, but don't say that next year when they're in Las Vegas. You know? Okay.
I know. It was a little bit of a bold statement, but definitely something. If you want to make some money, maybe definitely throw it out there. So.
There you go. Good stuff, Taylor. Really happy to have you with us, and let's do it again soon.
Appreciate it.
Taylor Soster, part of the team at Inbet. He's the co-creator, in fact, at Inbetsments. I like their approach. I think it's a real solid, low-key approach. Not one of these deals where they're, we're going to make you $1 million. Those guys never do. People like this do, and I might just go follow them on those two totals because I don't think the Raiders are going to be very good.
I agree with the Raiders. Yeah,
the
no
Bills.
I semi like the Bills, but
the numbers do point that way, and according to what Investments has, and it's. I'm not. Look, I don't think they're going to be a winning team either, so it might not be the worst bet in the world. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We will get to our Wager Talk marquee matchup. That is, of course, Yankees and Red Sox next.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
What's hot today? It's time for the Wager Talk marquee matchup of the night. WagerTalk.com. Start winning now.
All right, Yankees Red Sox round 2. The Red Sox humiliated the Yankees last night, 19-3. Does that rile the powerful Yankees up tonight? It's going to be James Paxton on the mound for the Yankees, and the Red Sox will counter with Andrew Cashner, who, this is so weird. Cashner was, the Orioles, who are the second worst team in baseball, were 11-6 in Cashner's 17 starts this year. Now he goes to Boston, they're 0-2.
Yep.
So,
9 runs in 11 innings he's given up. So a little nerves.
Pitching under pressure. I mean, it's Baltimore, you just show up every fifth day, go out and throw the ball, see what happens. These games mean more with the Red Sox. I'm not convinced Cashner's up to this.
I agree, and here's the issue with Cashner. His 2 starts were at home against the Blue Jays, not playing well,
nope,
and against the Orioles,
yep,
and he didn't do well. I like the Yankees tonight.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And Paxton could be, I know he can be dicey on the road, but he's been very tough on the Red Sox over the years, so we'll see what happens tonight. What's happening at Wager Talk?
There's a 5% play up from some guy named Ralph Michaels in Cal Sports. It's the first 5 totals play. If you can play it, go to wagertalk.com.
And there's a 5% college football play up from me. But if you listen to the show, you already know what it is. See? That's why it pays to listen to the Las Vegas Sports Line. Time for us to check out our Lions Physical Therapy Play of the Day.
It's the LPT Play of the Day. Tonight's best bet from Lions Physical Therapy. Your 5-star rated specialists.
And we're running late. Chris Bennett from Circa, thank you very much. Taylor Soster from Inbetsments, same as well. Play of the day is going to be the under first 5 innings in the Padres and Giants. For Ralph Michaels, I'm Dave Cokin. Have a great weekend.